What is Reality Way? The path of life, first formalized and formulated by Dr. Gabriel through the practices and experiences through which man reaches the state of grace. The realization, the reality referred to by many older spiritual traditions. The system of reality transcends the scientific, philosophical, religious, or spiritual systems we know today by acknowledging and embracing them all. It is based on the Reality Codex, first published in Hungary in 2023, which is a simple, practical guide to the process of realization, where man is able to see himself, the external world, and the purpose of life on earth in reality. According to the followers of the path of reality, it can give real answers to the most difficult questions of life on earth, such as, who are we? Where are we going? What is our purpose? Is there a God? And if so, where?
Hello, dear Master. I have a question, or actually two. The first question is, why is it that the perfect spirit, when we are still that seed in that indefinable space, where it is part of God in its perfect form, once it is born to earth, down here it doesn't behave perfectly, to put it mildly? How can there be such a big contrast between the two ways of being? If this spirit is here on earth when this perfect seed is born, and it remains within us even after birth as part of our being, then why is it so difficult to access our original knowledge and our original qualities? Why does it take so much work to unlock them? That was my first question, or actually it was two. And here's a bit of an ego question. Is it possible that in certain situations, I can more and more often see a situation clearly? I know the solution, and I know what the other person is thinking. I can see their thoughts completely. It seems arrogant to say, but afterward it turns out very, very often, more often than the statistical average, that I was correct. I just see something about the person, and it turns out that they really were thinking that way, and that is why they acted in a certain way. That's all, thank you.
Well, let's turn it around, thank you very much. I will answer the second one first. People have about, just to give you a number, about 1,000 units of attention. Of these 1,000 units, the average person uses only 2 to 5, because the rest is tied up in fear, hurt, grief, anger, resentment, jealousy, and so on. This is what occupies your mind, and what you pay attention to. Therefore, very few attention units are left for you to actually use. People live almost on the brink of exhaustion. In fact, if you take a good look at someone's eyes, no one is looking you in the eye these days. If someone happens to look you in the eye, you can see their eyeballs moving like this. There is so much information around us that we have lost our mind. Sorry to be blunt. People simply cannot look straight. This is what we have come to. We stare at our smartphones, and everything on the screen is moving around. When we start to clear our planes, then ekagra, or focus, is born. As I said, let's find the focus first. We used to have an exercise where we focused on a red rose for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on the person. If I felt red was too fiery for someone, I suggested they practice on a white rose. So, feel free to practice this. If you feel your thoughts are running around too much, fix them to a point. This is core samadhi, where my mind is concentrated on one point, and I don't let go. And in the meantime, I bring my attention and focus back by clearing myself of my desires, my fears, which are always projections into the future, my grief, my anger, which are tied to the past, my guilt, shame, and so on. I am clearing myself and bringing my attention units back to the present moment. I let go of my lower chakra abilities, and the upper ones, the real ones, open up. So, it inevitably happens to everyone that we start to see in reality. Because until then, we only saw the mind's view of reality. Do you understand this? Up until then, we've only seen the judgments of the mind. If you see a guy who looks like Joe, with whom you had an affair where he raped you, then you're going to be disgusted by him. Do you see? But if you have forgiven Joe and thanked him for being with you in the past, then you will no longer be disgusted. I don't know if it's clear. Then you will see that man in reality. Does this make sense? The dirt of the past is no longer there, nor is the dirt of the future. Your desire, your fear, your worry about it. It's not there. It's not there. And you just go, wow. Just now in the queue, there were 3 nice people asking the same question. Gabriel, I see. I know what he is thinking. Well, listen. If you're higher up the ladder, let's say you are at the throat chakra, and he is making himself suffer at the second chakra. That means you have resolved the second chakra within yourself. If you have resolved the second chakra within yourself, you're going to see how he is making himself suffer, because you are watching his game from a higher viewpoint on the mountain, and you know exactly what should be done, but you can't tell him, because he wouldn't understand anyway. He has to go through the suffering. You start to see. And with this, you will be able to help. These opportunities will manifest themselves. So that's absolutely fine. This is how it should be. Some begin to hear, some begin to see, some to feel, some see in meditation, etc. So there are a lot of these rightists, these manifestations, these abilities that you had in you. But you didn't pay attention to them until now. Later on, it will be completely natural to see a person's thoughts and problems. That's why we become therapists, because you know exactly what it is. With awakening comes the ability to see the cause of suffering, because suffering has one cause, the fact that you are not conscious. You ran away into the ego and the mind, and you see it, and you know it, because you've resolved it. Okay, that's all. To your first question, I would give you an example. When I was younger, I did a lot of sailing. I raced at sea. I was the helmsman. It was an extremely beautiful time, but the strange thing was that on these ships were the most successful and wealthiest people on earth. But they were all drug addicts. They were all drunk the whole time. They spent the whole time complaining, fighting, criticizing everything. They reported on each other, challenged the competition results, got into fights in the pubs. They lived the most privileged lives ever, but they were not aware of it. If such a person were taken to a village in the Philippines where there are no houses, no food, only huts built from banana leaves, but internet is available, and they give you a smartphone for free, but there is no food, heating, or water. This person would live there for a month, and then he would be taken back to the boat. Then he might be grateful. And he would say, "My goodness, how unreasonable have I been until now?" Do you understand? There is a Hungarian saying that whoever wants to be a piper must go through hell. And then at university, studying psychology, I hear Carl Gustav Jung, famous psychiatrist, Freud's student, has said at one point, only those can live in heaven. He was a psychiatrist, mind you. He was not portrayed to us as a spiritual master. I studied sociology too. Although I didn't graduate, I only did 4 years of it. Even there we had to study masters. I've only now realized as an adult, and they were called sociologists because you couldn't call them masters. It was very interesting. Anyway, so here we are with Jung, and he says that whoever lives in heaven must have his roots in hell. Amazing, isn't it? So, there is a wonderful life. I'm not saying on earth, but there is a wonderful life. The whole universe is alive and conscious. It's hard to put into words. You have to experience it through Satori, as words greatly distort its true essence. But, you know, nowadays I often play these games, as I feel like I live in an ivory tower. Everything is going so well that I deliberately go to a pub. Or let's say, as a lawyer, Tundi asks me to look at a certain situation, and I sit down to talk about it, just to remind myself every moment how grateful I should be. Do you understand? Because otherwise I get so comfortable, so absolutely comfortable. And as in small ways, so in big ways, that's exactly how divine life is. That we get so comfortable as everything is so superb. Do you get it? That it becomes absolutely comfortable. As the poet Attila Yosef said, for me to appreciate a glass of water, I must first learn to thirst. Do you understand? There's a short parable about this. A frog is jumping around in the field, on a path that is very muddy. A tractor passes by. The frog keeps jumping around, jumps into the tractor's wheel track and gets stuck in the mud. He can't pull his leg out. It's stuck. It won't come out. It doesn't budge. After a while, he calls to his friends, "Help me, I can't get out." His friends come, they pull him, but his leg doesn't come out. It doesn't move, no matter how they try. They spend the whole day pulling him, but as they can't get him out, they leave him there, telling him they are sorry. The frog stays there, struggling. He cannot get out. Suddenly, they see a big truck approaching from a distance. Good God! They turn to run back. The truck passes. They're running back, thinking the poor frog must have been flattened. Suddenly, to their great delight, they see the frog hopping around happily by the plow. "How did you manage to get out?" they ask. "Well," he says, "I had to jump out. The truck was coming." I don't know if we are aware that the truck is here now. Do we understand that the pandemic, whatnot, declining global economy, the Russians, China, I could go on and on with all these external things? The truck is here. We either jump or not. This is the world we are living in right now. You can contemplate whether to jump or not, but the truck is coming. Okay? So that's pretty much it. In order for us to jump, the truck has to come. To experience grace, we must first experience its opposite, duality. And then we can return to oneness with the knowledge of how valuable the experience was when we've experienced the mud, the pain, the abandonment, the thirst, the sickness. Do you understand? Then you can leave all that. It's all just so that you can put your hands together in the morning and say, "Thank you.